get you some tea, get you some coffee, get you a boba, get you some snacks, because this is about to be messy. This woman's name is Alex Grace. She had a nearly 2-decade affair with this Texas Republican Christian conservative that is supported by Trump and Greg Abbott. This is a man who helped write one of the strictest trigger law bans, termination bans in Texas, but alleged from her, he actually paid for 3 terminations himself. If you're on TikTok, she has all of these videos where she's outing this man at Alaska Unicorn Co. So you can go over there and watch it. If you're on my YouTube page, I will be posting her videos. I'll stitch all of these together. This is Giovanni Capriglione's Facebook page. I literally went over to his Facebook page. On June 18th, so just a month ago, it was all right just a month ago, he posted this. He says, "I'm excited to announce my re-election campaign for Texas House, endorsed by President Trump and Governor Greg Abbott. I am looking forward to continuing our work for HD 98, #TexasLedge. You see, June 18th, I have that highlighted. And here is his re-election or whatever, his statement. A little over a month later, July 22nd, statement from State Representative Giovanni Capriglione. This is on his Facebook page. The message was much longer, but this is the beginning. To my friends in House District 98, after much reflection, in a little over a month, after much reflection, prayer, and conversation with my family, I've decided that I will not seek re-election to the Texas House of Representatives. This has not been an easy decision. Serving you in the Texas legislature has been one of the great honors of my life. When I first ran, I had a clear purpose: go down to Austin, work hard, and fight for the principles and values that make Texas strong. Over the years, I've done exactly that. And while I've given this work everything I have, I also feel in my heart that I've accomplished what I set out to do. It's time for a new chapter. July 22nd. But like I said, just June 18th, he was like, yay, let's go. Let's get reelected. He says, this isn't goodbye, not yet. I will finish out this term with the same energy and dedication that I've always brought to the job. I remain committed to working closely with my constituents, continuing to attend local events, and ensuring that the laws we passed during the 89th legislative session are implemented faithfully and effectively. Throughout this journey, I've been blessed with more support than I ever could have imagined. First and foremost, I owe everything to my wife, Alyssa, who I cheated on for nearly 2 decades. She gave me the courage to run that very first time and has stood by me through every challenge and every long night. Her strength, grace, and unwavering belief in me made it all possible. I also want to thank our 3 daughters who gave up so much time with their dad so that I could serve. I've always carried them in my heart on the House floor, fighting to ensure that they grow up in a state that protects their freedoms, their dreams, and their future. And now I wonder how his daughters and wife feel about him being plastered all over the place because an affair came out. Now, Alex Grace said that the wife knew. So maybe Giovanni and his wife, maybe they got together for a marriage of convenience for the look of it. Who knows? But the thing is, as this woman is telling her story, people are coming at her because of the details of her life. He met her and they started up a relationship or situationship when she was 18. She was 18 and she was working in a strip club. And the thing is, because of who she is and her profession, people are losing the forest for the trees because they want to come at her because she's not the perfect woman to talk about these things. And instead of hearing what she's saying about this man who is a hypocrite, he's a forced birther who has paid for 3 different terminations. He is writing strict laws that harm women of Texas. They can't listen to that because she is a former stripper and she had an affair, even though he had an affair on his wife. On my YouTube page, I'm going to play this video first, even though it's out of order. I want to play this because she is speaking facts. The way people come at women and insult, cast aspersions, and all of that, even when they're telling their story and their experiences, is one of the reasons why other women may not come forward to tell their stories. So I'm going to play this one first. I'm just front loading all of the information first before I post all of her videos. Okay, back to the story. Remember on July 22nd, this is when Giovanni Capriglione said he was not seeking re-election. Then on July 23rd, this came out. It says, attorney for Chairman Capriglione suggests current revolt may be slapped with the lawsuit over planned report. Current revolt is the one that sat down with a taped interview of Alex Grace. And this is basically saying that Capriglione is going to sue Current Revolt for defamation. That is what this is basically saying. Alex Grace, though, took a polygraph. It says the woman accusing Giovanni Capriglione of a laundry list of unethical and immoral behavior has passed her polygraph test with flying colors. Current Revolt hired the same polygraph service used by government officials in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So Current Revolt was smart enough to use the same polygraph because if it's good enough for government officials, it's good enough for their journalism. And because of that, Alex Grace started releasing her story on her TikTok page. And this is what Alex Grace posted on her TikTok page. She said, just over a month after Trump endorses Representative Capriglione, he decides to retire. Excitement shattered by truth, but the name of his game is deflect, divert, discourage, and deceive. It's not every day someone retires over a false claim. Think about that. She also shared this on her page. This is the company that did the polygraph. The company's name is Behavioral Measures and Forensic Services Southwest. And this says, follow up. The Representative Capriglione story, polygraph says Alex Grace is truthful. You know how articles will give you bullet points about what you are about to read if you read an article? Well, I basically gave you the bullet points. He's accused of a 17-year affair. She was 18 at the time. She was a stripper. Also, she is alleging that he paid for 3 different terminations, and he is a supposed pro-life, aka a forced birther in Texas who helped write the extra strict laws that women cannot get a termination because of him, even though he paid for some. And then finally, I'm letting you know that she also recalls a situation where he was talking about wanting to put his baby batter in some cookie batter and sell those cookies and have his daughters sell those cookies at a bake sale. If you're on my TikTok page, I'm putting that at the very end, just in case that is too gross and you want to scroll away. Now, when you're listening to this woman, she is a little slow where it comes to telling her story. That's the reason why I front loaded most of the information so that you already have the rundown. Otherwise, just buckle up. Let's get ready to hear this woman's story.
If you're wanting more women like me to come forward and be honest, you have to stop attacking them at their most vulnerable. You ask, why did she wait? I can't speak for other women and why they wait. I didn't have the loving, supportive network that I do today. Now, I have received a level of support that I did not expect, and I truly appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. To be labeled as coming off as smug or as a bitch, as some of you have said, what you might be sensing was my automatic defense mechanism, knowing what was coming. When you're dealing with something of this magnitude, you don't know who you can trust. You don't know if who you go to speak up is going to take your story and squash it or silence you in some way. So yes, I waited until I had a loving and supportive network around me. I waited until I had the right outlet, the ones who would take me under their wing and put me under their care, the ones who I felt I could trust, the ones who are about truth instead of covering corruption. Now, many of you are going to hear snippets of what I said because the drama and the foul details are what you want to run with. And that's fine. I can't stop you. I met him in 2005. It did not last 20 years. Stop feeling bad for his wife. she encouraged it. Quit assuming that every pregnancy that was terminated were mine. Quit assuming I was the only one. Quit assuming I'm scorned. Stop assuming I was a paid worker of sorts. Whether I was groomed, whether I was coerced, whether I was confused or naive or simply just purely dumb, it was when his fantasies were so foul and seeing the political moves that he was making were continuing to erode away at women's rights. And again, to clarify, that was the catalyst for me taking the step back. You can sit here and you can shame me. That's your prerogative. I have the support I need with my friends and family. And I thank God for them, because some of the comments and the shame and the vile, evil, foul things that you guys say, feeling confident behind your screen, thank God I don't feel like I would be self-unaliving. Thank God I'm not in that mental place. I can see how people do that, because this world is toxic. Social media can be toxic. Some of you claim I'm wanting sympathy. I don't need it. Some of you say I'm mad because the money stopped. Trust me, the amount of money was nothing to write home about. And that friendship developed. It also ended. You're going to continue to have your opinions. You're going to continue to say I'm smug and I'm whatever. It's a defense mechanism, absolutely 100%. But at the end of the day, why? Why am I saying something? Because I'm not going to sit by and watch women's rights being eroded away. So if I have to put myself on the front lines and my dignity on the front line, so be it. Grab the popcorn because I have the tea. Now, this is Giovanni Capriglione. He's currently a Republican member with the Texas House of Representatives, more specifically District 98, also a self-proclaimed loving husband, father, and God-fearing man. Now, while he just made an announcement last month in June that he would be seeking re-election, he made this post on Facebook just 2 days ago saying, "After much reflection, prayer, and conversation with my family, I've decided that I will not seek re-election to the Texas House of Representatives." Not only is he not seeking re-election, but he's stepping out of politics completely. Now, could this be because while he was in Austin just last weekend, he overheard that a story about him would be broken tomorrow as of July 25th? Now, within the same novella of a post, he also mentioned, "I led the fight to pass the Human Life Protection Act, which ensured that Texas would stand for life in the post-Roe era." That's interesting, considering he's funded abortions for his own personal gain. This is the same fella who in a Twitter post said a favorable ruling would make Texas one of the first states to end abortions. But Giovanni, how would that work out for you? Or could it be about his affairs that he's had since 2005? Now, it's just my personal opinion that just the rumor of possibly a story breaking tomorrow on Friday, July 25th, about how you've been having affairs since 2005, funding abortions and doing even worse, that you might want to defend yourself, not completely step out of your career. Does that sound like an innocent man to you? This just goes to prove that corruption, deceit, and duality isn't just for top-tier level politicians, but also at state level. Now, while I am not at liberty to give you all of the tea just yet, I promise to bring you everything tomorrow. Out of all the videos I've ever made, I can say without a doubt, this is my least favorite video. I don't want to do it, but I am. And it's going to come out, so you're going to find out one way or the other. So I may as well tell you myself. I know that Giovanni Capriglione has been having affairs since 2005 because it's me. I'm her. I'm not proud of it. In fact, I'm ashamed of it. Hopefully you can keep in mind that we all have a past. And I wish I could say for him that that was the worst of it, but it's not. Due to legal reasons, I can't divulge much more until tomorrow. And then I believe I'm free to divulge everything, is my understanding. So I have every intention of doing that. But yeah. So let the judgment begin. So last night I promised a follow-up video in regards to Giovanni Capriglione. I should have expected that it would only be natural that rumors and assumptions would be made based on the limited information that I provided. So let's clear a few things up. The affair, for one, did not last 20 years. We met 20 years ago. He came into my place of work. I admittedly am not proud of having been a dancer. It's what I did at the time. It worked for myself. It worked for my family at that time. He was very well aware of how much I loathed going into there. I was not the typical woman that worked in one of those types of places. I was the gal who went home crying every night because I hated it that much. It's very demeaning and dehumanizing. But as a young mother, I did what I needed to do. There were conversations that took place where he would ask me, how much would you make if you went into work today? I would give him that number. And the option was, well, you can either go to work or I'm happy to give you that same amount to just hang out with me. And that's what we did. It started off as a friendship. Over time, it developed into a more intimate relationship. So let's clarify that a little bit. His wife was aware. She had full knowledge. Another assumption that is being made is I am bitter. I have absolutely no bitterness towards him. He was my friend. He was someone I could call during a rough time in my life. He was not only a friend, but he was a mentor at times. He pushed me to further succeed in life. There were questionable moments, and I believe that at my young age, maybe call it being naive, call it being dismissive or blind. I'm not really sure how to label it. But I overlooked a lot of different issues. I waited a very long time to say anything for two reasons. One, I am fully aware as to how awful children can be about bullying other students. And one of my biggest fears was that his girls would face some sort of bullying or retaliation. And that was not something I wanted to place on them. Another aspect would be that we met before he was ever in the political arena. When he told me that he wanted to enter politics, I was very proud of him. As a friend, I was very proud. I was very supportive. I was happy for him. However, and this goes into why I'm just now saying something, this year especially has been very enlightening as to how rapidly women's rights are eroding. When I had spoken to him in one of our last conversations, I urged him to stay true to himself. I wouldn't consider myself pro-life or pro-choice. I think if it's a pregnancy that is a result of incest or a rape or would somehow terminate the mother's life, then that is their decision, their right to make that choice. What is best for them? What would be best for that child? So I'm very torn on that issue. For someone to co-author legislation saying that all abortion should be done away with, when they have personally used that as an outlet to further their career or to protect their own personal life, all I ask is that you stay true to yourself. I believe that you can have diverse views while still calling yourself a Republican or a Democrat. My hope for him was that he would be the voice that we needed to not only do what was right and stay true to himself, but within his position, protect women's rights. But what is the point of being in your position when you can do better for the people? But instead, he chose to take a very selfish position while eroding women's rights. That was my issue. I don't know what his next chapter is, whatever it may be. I hope that he does stay true to himself. So I have no further plans to contact him. That chapter of my life is over. Again, I am not proud of the decisions I made. I have healed from it. I've learned a lot. I'm not that same woman anymore. I would never repeat those actions. So I hope all of you can hear me, really hear me. I think staying true to ourselves and supporting one another is one of the greatest things that we can do. So the cookie story. The cookie story. Let me preface this by saying that if you have a weak stomach or you are easily enraged or triggered by certain situations involving children, this may not be the story for you. So now that I've been given the green light to speak a little more on this, here we go. There was an evening that Giovanni Capriglione and I were having one of our deeper discussions. The topic of sexual fantasies came up, and he asked me what mine were. What was I into? What I explained to him was likely more vanilla than he expected or wanted to hear. I will say that just because you have worked in that industry does not mean that you're into every single taboo thing that's out there. So I get done telling my side, and I ask him naturally, well, what's yours? I'm curious at this point since you brought it up. And he had explained to me that, and I'm not sure if it was just one girl or two girls. I'm not clear on that. This was a while ago. But one of his daughters or more were having a bake sale coming up in the near future. And his fantasy was, when no one was looking, that he would produce baby gravy to put into the cookie batter before they were baked, because it was a turn on for him, let's just put it that way, to know that all of the girls in the neighborhood would be consuming what he had spelled. Naturally, you're going to wonder why this didn't make me run away immediately and not to justify my actions or to excuse my actions or lack thereof. I grew up around politicians. Having the father that I do, having worked in that industry, you come across a lot of people, pastors, priests, CEOs, executives, celebrities of all kinds, and politicians. There, I would say, is nothing that can shock or surprise me. I have heard it all. I've seen it all. Not seen it all, but in a nutshell, there's nothing that you can say to me that's going to shock me. However, this was one of those moments where I was shocked, deeply disturbed, and disgusted. With that, this was my friend that I had known for years. I think at that moment, I immediately excused his fantasy as just that, a fantasy, meaning it's not meant to be in real life. It is meant to be kept as a thought only. Now, whether he ever acted on this or not, I don't know. I do not know that part. I don't think he would ever admit if he had. When you get to know Giovanni on a very personal level, he is deeply, deeply riddled with paranoia. I'm just going to leave that right there. I justified it in my mind as, this is, while disturbing, it is a taboo fantasy. I am not someone to judge anyone else on what your fantasies are, whether it's bondage, a threesome, watching your partner with someone else. And I'm not saying that those are necessarily taboo. I just can't exactly explain more taboo than that on here for obvious reasons. But yes, I admittedly justified it as this is a fantasy. Again, if you know my background, that's another video for another day. It did make me take a step back. It did create a level of deep concern as to who he was. This was the catalyst for me to start removing my rose-colored glasses and trying to see him for who he really was. And entering politics where you come into contact with people and you portray yourself as this loving father and husband and someone with strong Christian values, that you're a God-fearing man. But this is who you really are. You're no longer taking abortions for your personal gain and eroding women's rights. You are now putting the community and children in danger. And I have been one of those children. And I couldn't ever stop thinking about it. It made me take a major step back, though I did try to justify it as he just said it was a fantasy. Maybe it was a bad phase. Maybe he had a moment of, I don't know. I can't explain it. And I'm sure many of you are going to judge me on here for not having run away at high speeds. I think in that moment I was too close to the situation to see it for what it was. But I will say that is what made me seriously reconsider my situationship with him. It disturbed me then. It disturbs me even more now because I've had that chance to break the emotional bond, break the mental bond, break all bonds. And the level of nausea that fantasy gives me, that's a whole other level. So that's the cookie story. Happy Saturday.